Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Team CT versus the Kingsley crew. Now, what we like to do here is go back and forth upon different topics, BT Kingsley and myself. And before any further ado, allow me to bring in BT Kingsley. You know him, you love him. I don't have to introduce him. He's one of the greatest comedians of all time, and I just did it again. Ladies and gentlemen, BT Kingsley.
What? Nope.
Splashy summer.
Right, just trying to keep up through the quarantine. You know how stupid it is to keep brushing your hair when ain't nobody gonna see it?
Nobody's gonna see it.
It's really
keep
dumb.
doing your thing now. Ladies and gentlemen, as you might know, some of you do not, this is Team CT versus the Kingsley crew. That's right. That means that this is my fan base versus his fan base, and we are discussing some things. Now, as we saw from the results of the last episode, you guys were very vocal in the comments, and I appreciate that. What I would love to do is bring some members of the Kingsley crew and some members of Team CT in for one of these episodes. So stay tuned. We're definitely going to do that. Probably after episode 4, we should start doing that. Anyway, this episode, let me introduce it again, guys. This episode, just like every episode, is my opinion versus his opinion on specific topics that we bring up. Now, I argue my point. He argues his point. Round 2, we explain why we made these choices. What were these picks impacts on us individually? And then on the third round, we like to switch sides. I defend his team, he defends my team pick, and then we go from there. So today's episode, we will be discussing whose versus battle should be next. We've seen a lot of versus battles. We've seen Monica versus Brandy. We've seen Rick Ross versus 2 Chainz. We've seen Alicia Keys versus John Legend. The list goes on and on.
Jill Scott, Erykah
Badu and Jill Scott. Now we're going to argue who we would like to see next. Now, interestingly enough, I would love to start this, BT Kingsley, because
I bet you would.
This is crazy.
I bet you would.
You know
I got
why?
A couple of people, but I made my arguments for not all of them. So I'm gonna be flying off the handle here. Let's go.
All right. You know what? I'll start with one pick, and then you go into yours.
No, because we're arguing what should be the next versus battle and why.
Yes.
So if you say one of the people in my pick, then I gotta adjust. Or if you say
you can still say, like, let's say for example, I say Shaq from his album that he dropped should be versus Karl Malone if he was to get in the music. At that point, if Shaq is on your list, you'll say, no, I want to see Shaq versus somebody else.
Okay, then let's go.
Yeah, no, it's a no-lose situation. Now, what I will say about who I believe should be the next versus battle, ladies and gentlemen, I choose Usher versus Beyonce. That's right. I said it. I will fight you in the streets. And you know why? Because I don't want to see Usher versus Chris Brown, because it's disrespectful. Y'all might try and compare, say, well, Chris Brown is this, Chris Brown is that. And I love Chris Brown. He's an incredible artist. But when you're talking about Usher and his impact, we're talking about a global sensation who is loved and adored just like Beyonce. They're in the same class of artists. They both started as kids as far as the same era. He's a boy, she's a girl. They both made their impacts. Now, Beyonce, what she has done is unlike any artist, man or woman, in the history of music. She's amazing. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm saying I want to see Usher versus Beyonce, because only those two can go massive hit versus massive hit. They can start from Make Me Wanna to Bills. He can go, yeah, she can go Single Ladies. He can hit her with so much for her to return from. So I want to see Usher versus Beyonce. I don't want to see Usher versus Chris Brown, because I look at that as a big brother, little brother thing. And I feel like the new generation always likes to say, well, Chris Brown got all these hits, he would destroy Usher. But then you got the people who are under 35, like myself, that's be like, hold on now, let's not forget what Usher brought to the table. Now, we all know the perfect battle would be R. Kelly versus Usher. But we can't see that for so many reasons.
It's never gonna happen.
It's never going. Let me tell you something. The only thing R. Kelly is versus right now, Huh?
R. Kelly versus Aaron Hall could possibly happen because I think Aaron Hall has a. Never mind. That's not. We don't want
Yeah,
to do
that's I don't even want to get into that. But I will say the only people R. Kelly is versus right now is the state of Illinois. So that's the only battle that he's going to be versus. So that is who I want to see next battle. Beyonce versus Usher also would elevate the hell out that show. You talking about 1.2 million? I think we saw for Monica and Brandy. I guarantee you're gonna see no less than 5 million for Beyonce and Usher.
40. I was thinking 40. I don't know how many people on Instagram, but everybody would be there.
Because these are both crossover artists as well. We're not talking about Rick Ross and 2 Chainz, who are amazing artists, and I'm not downing these brothers at any point, but Usher and Beyonce have crossover music that have impacted Israel. You know what I'm talking about? Or Australia. I can't say the same for every artist, and that's a battle that will be the battle of all battles.
All right. Not bad. Not mad at that at all. But I have figured out the perfect battle. And the reason I know I'm going to do very well in this episode is because you kind of already set it up. There's been a consistent conversation of the Chris Usher thing. It's just been in the space, right? And to certain people, like, you could see how it could possibly make sense. But then the people that kind of run the internet have always kind of got disrespectful when it comes to Chris, right? Because if you understand the Usher thing, then you're like, what are we talking about, bro? No, right? Because same what happened with, I remember when T.I. was talking about people he didn't want to go against. One of the people he named was Snoop, and he was like, there's a nostalgia that Snoop can reach into that I can't reach. There's a mental place in somebody's heart because of how long they've known Snoop that I can't get to because I ain't been out that long. Usher kind of has that, you know, with us. But let me tell you what I've come up with. The perfect battle. Okay. The perfect battle. Because you got to ask yourself, why did Monica and Brandy do so well? Why? They got hits together and they got issues. Alleged or unalleged, they have issues. Ready for this?
Ain't no alleged. They definitely had issues because they were pitted against one another. Go ahead.
Chris Brown versus Drake. That's the battle. That is the battle. And because listen, man, as a Usher fan, I had been thoroughly worried about Usher versus Chris because, bro, as a Vincent Drexler Jones, as a DJ, listen, man, Chris never did it for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm an Usher fan. Like, I'm 90s R&B. So I appreciate some of the early stuff. I appreciate Yo. I appreciate Run It. I appreciate Give Me That. Like, I appreciate Poppin'. I appreciate that stuff. But I'm not tuning in for it because he's a child. Like, his voice, he's a child at the time, right? It's like, I'm not really, you know, I like, but they keep going from, well, I love Kiss. I love these songs, but this is not music that I'm going to go and purchase. And then Chris got grown. Then he gives you Grass is Greener. Then he gives you Fine China. Chris got
New Flame.
And I'm like, whoa, I love Ush. I love Ush, but I don't want to see it because I don't feel like it's a good matchup. And as much as I love Trey, I didn't feel like Trey was good either. But that Drake makes sense. They got prior issues and they got hits together. Every time them brothers get together, it works out. No guidance. Man, no guidance gonna go. No guidance ain't never leaving us.
Have they made a song together since they had an issue?
No guidance. No
guidance came after the issue.
Oh yeah. Because the issue is I believe it's Rihanna.
Of course.
You know, and mind you, they both got this connection to Rihanna. Both got hits with Rihanna that they might have to play in the battle. Because Drake can play Work. And Chris can play Cake. And it's like, we both hit. I was like, or she smashed both of us. I don't
These
know.
are not the views and opinions of Team CC versus Kingsley Crew. This is all on Kingsley Crew.
No, yeah, this is all on Kingsley Crew, and these are also all facts. They both sexed her, and or she sexed both of them. Call it how you want.
We don't have any facts of these, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not come for us. Come for BT Kingsley.
I saw the video. And in all honesty, they both light skinned. So listen, if they could cancel each other out, I'd appreciate it. If these two brothers can take each other out in a light skinned duel to the death.
Light skinned duel to the death is hilarious.
And they both sing and rap.
That's
so you got songs where Chris is just rapping. You got songs where Drake is obviously just rapping. You got songs where Chris is just singing. You got songs where I think, and the rise kind of was. It wasn't similar, but I think that'll be solid, bro. I think that's a strong battle. Chris versus Drizzy. Breezy versus Drizzy.
That's a solid one. I can't even be mad at you on that. That is such a major pick. Usher and Beyonce would truly be so great, bro. It's like when I think Usher versus Beyonce, I think all time, like they gotta be like, all right, this is our season finale, and we're coming back in 3 months or whatever.
Right.
The next battle that you actually threw a really fire one with that Chris and Drake. I'm gonna give you that.
I was worried you was gonna step on that. I ain't gonna even hold it.
No. That's why I want to go first. I had to get Beyonce out the way. I would like to see. Now, if these are mythical battles, because I can't do it. Okay, I'm gonna argue this because it'll never happen. It just happens in our hearts. I'm gonna give you another real one that could be a possibility after this, but I know this could never happen. Prince versus Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, man. Hey.
Now we're talking about two completely different artists. You got one who's singing to everyone of every single age, which is Michael Jackson, and then you got Prince that is making that grown folks I get that cookie music. You understand me? That brother Prince got the cookies and the cookie got, and it is a fact because the Darling Nikki versus Billie Jean is a true toss-up.
Yeah.
Because you hearing two completely different things. It's like, at least with Chris Brown and Usher, which I don't want to see, but if Chris Brown and Usher drop a song, they drop No Air versus You Got It Bad, you're gonna feel the exact same emotion because it's a love song. Darling Nikki versus Billie Jean, you're sonically hearing two completely different things. Then you're looking at the impact that both of these men have had on the world and on you as a person. Now, if we could go back, because I gotta save. Okay, never mind. So that's my number 2 pick. Who's your number 2 pick?
So this would be all right. So I got a couple here, and I got to figure out how I want to do this. So I'm gonna fumble this off. Because you went so mythical, I gotta stay kind of mythical. I mean, and that, yeah, if you gonna go MJ and Prince, then I'm gonna go Pac Big.
Okay,
that's low hanging fruit. Obviously, they have this huge West Coast East Coast beef. Obviously, they both made amazing music. Obviously, we didn't get nowhere near as much as we should have got for them. Both lost both of these amazing artists really, really young. Have forever changed the landscape of music, and in any argument about hip hop ever, they will come up.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always something to be said about the emotion that Pac made you feel, but I also feel like there's something to be said for Big's wordplay and verbiage. It's like, it's super, super powerful and impactful, and man, the hits, bro.
Yeah. Now we're talking.
Yeesh.
I want to give you my 3rd pick right now. Are you ready?
Hey, I'm with you.
Right. Now, mind you,
I had to go there because I saw where you went.
Now, mind you, when we do round 2, which is what impact did they have on us? Yeah. We're still in round 1 right now, where we're explaining our stances. Okay.
Yeah.
My 3rd pick, My third pick is definitely going to have to be Kanye West versus Jay-Z. Okay. Why? Because nobody else can go against Jay-Z. Nobody else has had as many massive hits as Jay-Z than Kanye West. Nobody. In the early 2000s, it was a toss-up between Jay-Z and DMX, and we saw he filtered out. You understand me?
Yeah.
We saw DMX go against Snoop, which was not a good choice. It should have been it could have low-key been Snoop versus Dr. Dre, even though it kind of would have been double dipping. But
Yeah.
Snoop shouldn't have went against DMX because that was like, I don't want to see that. I wanted to see early 2000s. I wanted to see Jay-Z versus DMX. But now Jay-Z and Kanye West are on the same level. Now, I'm not talking about goddistry. I'm talking about Jay-Z is clearly the big brother. Kanye's rapped about it, but we're talking about hits that we want to see. I want to see Big Pimpin' go against one of Kanye's biggest bams. I want to see a battle of the Titans, and that's what it would be with Jay-Z and Kanye West. Or for an honorable mention, we could do Eminem versus Jay-Z, but then we're just getting technical. But if we're just talking about big hits, Kanye versus Jay-Z. Give me your third.
How many of these are we gonna do? Because I got a couple. I'm
Well,
trying
here's
to
the
figure
thing.
out next.
You got to remember, round two is what each of these artists' impact on us was. So we've already named.
Hey, I'm here, baby.
All right, how many more picks you got before we can go?
No, I got at least. I'm just trying to see which one I should go with next because, you know what? I know where I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Because I know where I could go.
Right.
But we'll just mention it later sometime in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at verses, at the beginning of verses, one of the things that happened was you would get songwriters and or producers. Swiss Beats and Timberlake are both producers, right? You did Jonte versus Neo. So Neo's able to play songs he just pinned on, like just Beyonce to the left. He's like, hey, I wrote this and I need that credit. You know what I mean? So I still miss that vibe. And because of that, I have been trying to find somebody to go against somebody who I know demands his respect. And he not gonna get the battles that he wants because there's two artists that he wants. He not gonna get them. So I've been trying to find who he could go against, and then tell
me who the battles that he wants. Go ahead.
Okay, his name is Jermaine Dupri. Jermaine Dupri. He would want Puff or Dre, but they're gonna go against each other. If they do it at all, they would go against each other. So I've been searching, like, who could JD actually go against? And the answer is they have to have written music, have to have produced amazing music, had to have some quality acts probably under the label, and have their own solo successes. Pharrell. Jermaine Dupri versus Pharrell.
Interesting.
Now, JD has more time in the game. And he probably has he has a lot of huge records. And Pharrell can't go against him as far as time in, but time after. So like if JD started here and got to here, where Pharrell starts, he's still going. So let's say if they both did 20 years, they probably had 5 to 8 years of overlap, and Pharrell's still going. So that battle for me is amazing because I believe JD would respect it. JD would look across the room and say, all right, Pharrell, I'll give you that. Because he wants to be mentioned and he wants the credit for all Atlanta, So Def. When you get off he not going to get it. He not going to get it. Because Puff ain't going to say yes to JD and neither is Dre. Because they're going to want each other. And the other battle would have been him versus Tim, but Tim already battled Swiss. So
Which should,
Pharrell.
and I understand they created the show together, but they shouldn't have battled each other because they're two completely different leagues.
Yeah.
Timberland and Swiss Beats. I'll give you a fourth, and we're gonna stop at this fourth.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna hear your fourth after I say my fourth, and then we're gonna move on to round two. My pick is Missy Elliott versus you took Pharrell for me, so I had to find an alt, and that is Justin Timberlake. Now we're only going on hits for this list because she's a producer as well. We're only going on hits. Missy is going to destroy 80% of everybody we've named on our list.
Right.
Except when you have somebody like Missy, everybody's trying to figure out, man, who can Missy battle? It's got to be somebody that's completely different than her. And who's different than Missy Elliott? A white boy named Justin Timberlake that has crossover hits.
Yeah, because he got the yeah. I have to make my arguments later, so I won't say that. But yes, touche. Yeah.
So
touche. I don't hate that battle at all. I don't hate that battle.
I'm talking about if I could hear Super Duper Fly, I can't stand the rain.
Yeah.
Pew, pew. Against my window. I can't stand the. All right, so round two. What impact?
Wait, I gotta give me a fourth.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. As he takes a sip of water.
We ain't gonna build too much build up. Shout out to the homie Naeem Lynn. We talking about a vibe right now.
He's a vibe.
We talking about a vibe right now. Sade Anita Baker.
I can't accept that.
Sade Anita Baker.
I can't accept that.
Anita Baker.
I'm gonna tell you why I can't accept that. Because that. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Sade Anita Baker. Sade and Anita Baker have both made this amazing sounding Drive in the Rain like music. Sade has always been a vibe. When you hear Smooth Operator, when you hear Cherish the Day, when you hear Your Love Is King, it puts you in a space. And it also happens when you hear Anita Baker. That same kind of, it's just slow, and you think about your mama's heartbreak, but she's strong, so she gonna get over it. It's just like it's a warm vibe. They don't really do knocks. They don't do like up tempos. They don't do hard hitting beats. That's never been their thing. Yeah. So Anita versus Sade. And they both alive, so let's give them their flowers. My angel.
Yeah. You're my angel.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. I give you that. That's a solid choice, BT Kingsley. I couldn't allow you to do it because I'm sick that I did not. Anyway, we're going on to round two. What impact did your pick have on you? You might as well go backwards to forwards. Give me Anita Baker and Sade.
Anita Baker and Sade is literally my childhood and growing up, and my mama. It just literally takes me to thinking about my mom. And in my real life, Sade and Anita Baker create peace in my life. One of my favorite things you do, shout out to the Audi, my drop top Audi. They don't have no more. Shout out to Circles. I used to have this drop top Audi, and I got some nice little subwoofers in it. And one of my favorite things to do, one of the most peaceful things to do, was drop the top, drive late at night, and listen to Sade and Anita Baker very loud. Because outside of the fact that these musics have a lot of peace to them, they bass heavy. And you talk about whatever happened that day, I feel better now.
I'll give you that.
I would drive for hours sometimes, just up and down the one, so they literally create peace in my life.
Yeah.
You want to go before I keep going?
Yeah. So for my pick for Missy and Justin Timberlake, Justin Timberlake, for me, I got on the Justin Timberlake train at Crimea River, and then I went backwards to NSYNC, Dirty Pop, Dirty Pop, and then I'll start listening to all of this. and then I got his albums. Justin Timberlake, I didn't understand the hate that people have for Justin because I just heard his music and I was like, man, I love this guy's music and how it makes me feel.
Right.
And then learning about why people hated him, I'm like, well, you know, I've never been a bandwagoner, and I've never accepted I'm not gonna like this person because other people don't like this person. I love Justin Timberlake. So hearing his music, there are so many different points in my life where I listened to his music and I was like, man, this guy's an outsider to us, but the world is rocking with him. You know what I mean? I remember when
Absolutely.
Michael Jackson had done an interview long before he died. It was with Extra. I'll never forget this. And Extra was before TMZ, but Extra was doing extra. And they were doing an interview with Michael Jackson. They showed up to his house and they were like, so Michael, so we just saw, you know, Justin Timberlake just dropped a new video. So do you think he's the next, do you think he's your successor? And Michael Jackson did the best political answer ever. He was like, I definitely think that Usher and Justin Timberlake can take the mantle of King of Pop after I'm gone, but definitely Usher and Justin Timberlake, because he wouldn't allow the media to put Justin over Usher or not even mention Usher, because how can you take the mantle of this black man as an artist and not mention somebody who's also killing it right now? And Michael gave credit to both of them and broke this color barrier, which I loved, by saying, yo, I love Justin Timberlake. Yes, he happens to be white, but his soul has no color. Then you got Usher, who is my guy, who's done several tributes and so many different performances and deserves to be mentioned in the category of King of Pop. And once the king mentions your name, you are now a king. So when you think of Eddie Murphy mentions Dave Chappelle. He mentions Martin Lawrence, Chris Rock, Chris Tucker.
I love that.
So when you're the king and you mention someone, that holds weight. So once Michael Jackson mentioned Usher and Justin Timberlake, to me, I was like, that's all she wrote. These guys are now reigning as king. And unfortunately for Chris Brown, he didn't really get a chance to meet Michael Jackson or get the level of performances under his belt before Michael passed to where he can then also be mentioned by the king. However, when I listened to Justin's music, it made me feel good because this guy was an outsider to black people and still telling us like, yo, I got love for y'all, man. I just love the soul, while all of white America was like, oh, he's the best ever. And I felt myself growing up in a black neighborhood and then going to a white school and then moving to a white neighborhood, feeling that outsider on the other end. And I was like, man, I just rock with this guy. Missy Misdemeanor Elliott was one of the first massive hits that I had to go buy the tape. I think I stole the tape from my sister. She had a Missy Elliott Against My Window single, and I listened to it on a yellow school bus on the way to school in 6th grade. And it was so fire that she was so animated. Missy Elliott put that extra step in her artistry that made me say, yo, I didn't see her as a woman. I just saw her as an artist. Because, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, this female artist and this male artist. Like, no, I just saw her as an artist because she was so different that I loved her. So that's my Missy. And Justin, give me your third.
All right. So I went JD and Pharrell. I believe that was the third. So I'll start with Pharrell. Pharrell is probably closer to who I am as a person. If you look at NERD and you look at the people he's surrounded by, that's kind of my life. Like, black people love me. My friends are multicultural, and I love black people. Yeah, kind of period, point blank. Especially growing up in my school, like my friends was like it was an Asian dude and a Mexican dude and a black dude, and it was like, you know, it was that very eclectic group. It's literally nerd. It's literally NERD. And then if you just look at some of the stylistic choices that he took, obviously we all know I take my ventures in the world of style. So like for that manner alone, I've always appreciated Pharrell because I understood that world where kind of the same thing that kind of happens with Kanye. Like he's kind of his own self and he don't really care about how you feel about it. Now, JD is different. JD for me is when I look at my career, There's a lot of things that I want to happen for me that live in the world of Jermaine Dupri. Like if you just said, who do you want to be? Like comedy wise, I love the presence of Jermaine Dupri. Jermaine Dupri Jermaine Dupri could go to the movies and enjoy himself, but he rich as fuck. Oh, I forgot. I could cuss. He rich as fuck.
Yeah.
He was the head of Virgin. He got the Mariah Carey hits. You want to talk about a label? We talking Social Def. You talking, bro? You talking Escape? You talking Da Brat? You talking Criss Cross? Giving opportunities to children, keeping it real with children about if you want to make it, this how it's gonna be. Like if you want to see a damn show, watch the Rap Game. You talk about he give it to them kids. Funky, you not good enough. You gonna fail in this situation. I'm like,
What show was
somebody would,
What show is this? Where can I watch this?
There's a show called The Rap Game. Think of Day 26, but with children. He takes young kids like he's always done, like in their I think they're got to be younger than 18. So I think 17 to 10 or 11. But if you want to be a rapper, you want to be a child sensation, he drills them through all these different things that are going to happen to the music. It was on Lifetime. It's a Lifetime show.
So I can't watch it on Hulu or Netflix.
I don't know. It might be on. It should be somewhere.
All right, keep going.
For 4 or 5 seasons. It's
sorry, but keep going with your point.
But and I appreciate that you got him. If JD could step into a room and say, "Yo, if you're not mentioning me with the Puffs or Dre's, you're out of your mind, and you just don't know no better." And then think of the legacy he left for Atlanta, because without JD, Atlanta is a different landscape.
Yeah.
So I've always appreciated where he stood in the game, and I know I wasn't wrong because he fucked Janet Jackson. He fucked Janet Jackson, baby.
Yeah.
He got huge songs with Jay-Z. I mean, it's like, and here's something that people don't say that I personally feel. I love Jermaine Dupri as a writer, as a lyricist. He is one of the few artists that is in few black artists or few hip hop artists. I think the only two, no, they just added Missy this year, but before Missy, it was only Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for writing. For writing, because he's penned a lot of Mariah Carey hits. He penned all of Criss Cross, whole catalog. He wrote the whole Confessions album. That's JD's life, writing it, giving it to Usher, saying, "Go be great. You are the nigga that sold 10 million albums, and I get is Jermaine Dupri, bro." Like when Usher can't go to the movies.
No,
I appreciate.
Take that back. He can and can't, because I met him in an IHOP in Hollywood about 10 years ago. But he was in there. It was like 2 a.m. though, so nobody would be in there at 2 a.m. Yeah,
man. So I really appreciate the respect that he has garnered, because everybody industry wise respects JD. Yeah. Where the people feel, I'm kind of indifferent about that, especially if I got the money. If I got the money and the respect, you gonna hear me. You don't even know you love me.
Yeah,
you don't even realize it.
That's a fact.
So that's JD for me. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to say this. Literally lyrics. Literally that 1472 album. I mean, literally lyrically, everything. It's like there's times where JD's been rapping. I was like, I agree with everything he just said. Every word of him as a rapper. Yeah. Don't nobody talk about that. As a rapper, every word that he just said, I fucking, yes, I agree. JD.
My third pick. Wait, Justin Timberlake and Missy were my fourth. Prince and Michael Jackson for my. Was that my third pick? No, I did Kanye and Jay-Z for my third. Kanye and Jay-Z were third. Okay. So for Kanye West, before we found out that he was suffering from a mental illness, I think we all knew back then when he did George Bush Don't Care About Black People. I think we knew at that point, because I watched an episode of Punk'd, and he had got punked by Ashton Kutcher, and they were like pranking him, like stealing his equipment. And he's like, "We can walk wherever we want. We can walk wherever we want." And he was just like being really obnoxious. And I remember seeing that in like 2004, and I was like, something's off with this guy. But like we dismissed it because he was such a great artist, and he was just so hot at the time that we didn't even know to look for things like that. But I remember thinking to myself, like, something's different about this man. However, that's half the brilliance. Like when you get a chance to be called a genius, is because you offer something. He wrote the soundtrack to my early on manhood. Like I talked about T.I. before, talking about how, man, T.I. really influenced me. Kanye West made such an impact on my life because here he was going into Rockefeller wearing polos and pink shirts and fuchsia this and all of that. And this is a time where everybody was wearing jerseys. If you didn't have a jersey on, you weren't even respected as a rapper. If you came in with a jersey, a chain, and a do-rag on, you were seen as that guy before you start rapping, because that's what everybody looked like. He came in with the clothes that your mama had you wearing to school. I know my mama had me wearing to school, polos and khakis and sweaters and all of that stuff. That's why I don't dress like that now, because I wore it so much as a kid. But Kanye West spoke about who I wanted to become and somehow understood my struggle. I remember at 19 years old, I'm doing comedy and I'm also working at Payless Shoes. And after every shift, I made about, after taxes, about 200 and some change every week. And this is me going to a job 5 or 6 days a week. I'm working from 9 until 9. And I'm like, man, I just want my dreams to take off. I'm making realistically, what is that, $1,000 a month? If I'm getting 250, it was under that. So I'm getting under $1,000 a month after taxes. I'm 19. I'm living with my mom. I'm going to this job every day. I'm riding a bus. I'm telling people I do comedy, and they like tell me a joke. Since you so funny, why aren't you on TV? All of this stuff, just stuff that people who don't understand the business ask you. And I'm bumping Kanye West Spaceship, and I'm bumping Kanye West College Dropout, and I'm listening to this man tell me about his struggle, and I'm looking at where he is. And that Kanye West is one of the reasons why I always share my story with people, because I need people to know this didn't just come about. You see the 1 million followers on Facebook, you see the hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube and Instagram, and you see me on TV, or you see me performing in these places, or whatever you see. I started with nothing, and nobody believed except the people who believed. So if I listened to Kanye West make it through his situation and be prominent and prosper, and I knew that I could as well, and am, and try my best to tell people that they can as well. So Kanye West for me is on a completely different level. Jay-Z is a little less that for me, because Jay-Z made me want to be fly. Jay-Z made me want to get the girls. He made me look in the mirror, and I looked at Jay-Z and I was like, man, this guy isn't the pretty boy, but all the ladies love him because he's got money and because he's cool, and every guy wants to be him. And I wanted that at an early age. And of course, hearing Kanye West later on say the exact same things that I'm saying shows of how impactful this man was. So that's what their impact was to me. Give me your second.
So now let me make sure I got this right. I went
Biggie and Tupac.
It was Big and Pac.
Okay,
go. Okay, cool. So for Big and Pac, then, I look at these two brothers as one, Pac, passion. You talk about passion, you talk about emotion. I've started to try to just dedicate this to my life in general, and anytime I get to show up on screen or get a chance to perform, is something about passion that, good, bad, or indifferent, you always appreciate.
Yeah.
Passion will. You ever be at a like one of them, like an open mic or like a live musical venue or a stand up, any of these things, and somebody commitment alone got you all dialed in?
Yeah.
Even if it's not good, just the commitment alone. So
Yeah.
to see somebody as skilled as he was, be as passionate as he was, is always something I had appreciated, because at no point in time can you remember Tupac and not remember passion. Whether it's the MTV interview and he's talking about black people and the struggles and knocking on the door, I'm picking the lock, like whether it's his performance in Juice or in Poetic Justice, whether it's him on mic, whether it's him spitting at a camera, whether it's him, Pac was passionate about everything. And that I believe was one of his greatest gifts. And it should, like, and it's why I think second to none, you feel Pac more than you feel probably any artist ever. Kanye might be one of the only other artists that does it, because he's passionate. He's passionate. Call a spade a spade. He wrote this. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Did he say it? Because I'm telling you who said it, and I felt it because that dude said it.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about being those kind of people that are intense when it comes to passion, and it's something literally I learned just by watching Pac. To his dying day, he was always passionate. To when he first showed up with Digital Underground, he was like,
I do the hump, the hump.
Yeah. Dude be delivering. So Big is something different, because for Big, he's in a lifestyle of life that he decides to make a decision on. And Big showed me collaboration, because without Big listening to Puff about how he should approach music and what he shouldn't do and what songs do make sense and don't make sense, then he don't get all the hits that he get.
Yeah.
And he was willing to step back to a lot of extent. Like to this day, I don't think we'd see Big in a space where he'd be like some super mogul. I think he would take his deals that make sense for him financially, but I could easily see him fumbling off money without having the right people around, because he just seemed like a very giving person that would also be like I would see him getting messed over for money and then having to do time for fucking somebody up about fucking with his money. Like that's like, I could very much see that about Big, because we didn't hear a lot of business savvy shit. What do you like? Hey, Puff, you handle this. Hey, so and so, you handle it. Like you got it. Like, and it allowed him to stay in the pocket and just be great. It allowed him to just be amazing and have such a high skill set that you have to respect him in the essence of greatness. And he did it against all odds. Black fly, still I'm black, I'm ugly, and it don't matter. I'll still fuck your bitch. Like I have a high respect for Big, because
Black
the delivery
ugly as ever. However,
that however is what made you amazing.
Bro, can you imagine the however though?
Yeah.
Fat, black, and ugly, however.
Not just ugly as ever.
Ugly as ever, however. Ooh, stay Gucci down to the socks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you my number 2.
Filled with rocks.
Yeah, that's my number 2 pick was Michael Jackson and Prince.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson was my mother's favorite artist. So growing up, I would always hear Anita Baker, and then right behind Anita would be Mike Jackson. And she would always be Mike Skater. That's what always she says. And Michael Jackson for me was this larger than life figure. I remember watching the news and they showed a Michael Jackson spotting, and the people, like, he went to some country and the people piled around, and people would faint upon meeting him. Like they'd be like, or they would be crying. And I was like, I never wanted that level of fame where people cry when they meet you, because now you can't go to the movies. Like you said, Jermaine Dupri could go to the movies. I, as Clayton Thomas, can go to the movies. I'm gonna take some pictures. Hey, what's up, man? Bam, take the flick. They let me do my thing. And I'm honored to even meet the people. Michael Jackson is a person that couldn't go outside. He could not go outside. Imagine going to the grocery store and you're signing 1 million autographs and people are crying and fainting on you, and maybe somebody files a lawsuit against you because they fainted or they epileptic. Like, there's so many different possibilities. I never wanted that fame. Michael Jackson was so larger than life. He's the one who made me start singing along to songs. Like we always joke about my falsetto because I, as a child, could mimic Michael better because I had a kid's voice, but I start mimicking his voice on songs and start hitting high notes. Never what he hit, but like I start doing those little joints. And he's one who made me fall in love with music because it felt so for everyone. Now, Prince, his music helped me as I was a later teenager when I'm discovering girls, and I'm like, ooh, I like this. He's talking about some shit that all the women like. Like, he's talking about some freak shit, and I want women too. You know what I mean? So Prince was more of the sophisticated girl. I knew this girl named Nikki. What? What's this? Diamond and Pearl? Like, when I hear Diamonds and Pearls, it's a whole mood change, bro. I could literally be in a funk, and in a minute, so those two truly impacted me for two different points in my life. BT Kingsley, give me your number one.
Number one was that that Drizzy and that Chris Breezy.
Chris Brown, yeah.
So, first of all, both of these brothers have made it through adversity.
Yes.
And that means a lot. We know Chris's history. We know what happened. I'm not going to say he takes too much flack for it. That's not fair, because he did what he did and he faced the consequences. But once you start getting into the history of what his family dynamic was, what he understood, I don't feel like he gets enough of the mental health space that we give people. Okay. Not okaying what he did, but I'm saying this is what he saw growing up. He messed up. To our understanding, he changed his behavior, and he's still just been trying to get to the level he was at back then. And maybe he surpassed it, but we all saw the trajectory of where he was going. And then we saw, more than a hiccup, a mistake. But getting past that, the fact that we even still mention his name is nothing less than just talent, bro. It's like you could go through some stuff and make it out of it. And Chris has an eye for I feel like these albums we're seeing with Chris Brown, where it's 30, 40 songs, is because he just know hits. He just know them. So sometimes I feel like he just gives them away. Like, there's been too often I've heard a song and Chris is on. Like, there's a Tank song that Chris is on. I can't Shots. It's like, my money long, shots fired. That's what it is. The song, it's legit an amazing song. Tank did the song. Chris probably came to it with him, knowing Tank's also a crazy pen or whatever. And Tank's label said, no. That's not what we do. That's not who you are. And we're not having it. And but Tank probably wanted some bounce at his concert because he was to every song, bro.
Please don't go. Please don't go. You're like, I'm a citizen for 2 hours. Yeah.
We'll never get to party, bro. We'll never get to party. Chris, also skill set wise, always keeps it humble. Always keeps his this is a humble individual. Chris might be the best dancer ever, bro. As far as superstars go, hey, listen, man. Listen, Chris can do everything that everybody else can do and then some. He could do Michael Jackson moonwalk backwards and forwards and then do a backflip and land on his head. Like, I don't know. And he's 6'3". I don't, bro.
He's definitely tall.
And he'll never say that. He'll never say that because of everything he learned from Chris and probably Ush and everybody else. But you just start talking about just how he moves into space. I'm like, yo, Chris is something else. Like, it's amazing to me how much I appreciate him now. Because I've never purchased a Chris Brown album. Zero. But I understand how much I appreciate him when he's young, and then I understand how much now he's lived some life, and I'm like, this brother here. Every time Chris Brown showed, I don't ever remember. I can't think of a song that Chris Brown showed up and I was disappointed. I was like, oh, this guy. So I appreciate him going through everything he went through and just executing greatness. Now, when you talk Drake, when you talk about Drake, first of all, first things first, just for me specifically, there's my introduction to Drake. Mm-hmm. Drake's first album is introduced to me in Houston, Texas, and there's songs on this album. I believe it's November 8th on his album. Mm-hmm. The song that he's sampling is literally a song that dominated my like teenage years. It's just like living in Houston. This song is not a song you would even know unless you're from Texas. It's like it's a very specific sample. So when people are telling me about this guy named Drake, and I'm listening to the music, I'm like, oh, this guy has something. I think he's from Houston. Especially when you start telling me about Rap-A-Lot, Jay Prince connections. So this says something to me about Drake streetwise, right? Because he's always been very aware, and he's not afraid to express his emotions, and this is who he chose to be as an artist. I love that he chose his lane and he stayed there. From album one, he's singing and rapping, right? Which is something that happens in Houston a lot. That for everybody else, it was unfamiliar. For Houston, this is the way of the world. You name them, they sing a rap. Chamillionaire, Fat Pack. It's like this Big Mo. It's a thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about the street dudes, Devin the Dude. Like, you sing and you rap. Everybody does it. When you look at Drake, the thing that was super interesting to me is, as a businessman, he found it a smart way to do business. Since I'm dealing in the rap game, I'll probably get into some situation. He went and got Jay Prince. And having Jay Prince have your back it's a powerful message to the whole industry. Everybody calm down. Everybody relax.
Yeah.
Hashtag mob ties. If it ever needs to turn into something else, he got a strong team with him. So building the team for Drake has always been super interesting to me. And even though sometimes emotionally I don't like the choices that he makes, just like I'll hear certain songs, I'm like, I don't agree with that decision. I appreciate the flexes. Just the other day, I just saw he's at 1 billion streams on Spotify, and he's just eating spaghetti off the plaque. I love it. He just eating spaghetti. He never even mentions it. It's just there. He's like, what? What's going on?
Which is so disrespectful to Spotify. Like, I just sent you his plaque. You eating spaghetti. Not even dry snacks. You eating wet ass spaghetti out this plaque, which he's gonna have somebody clean up.
So
number one.
And then I'm sorry, before we go, Successful. Literally the song Successful.
Ooh, facts. With him and Trey Songz.
I
just wanna be successful.
Who don't want to be successful, baby? So yeah. He has Drake.
I love that
music. Too many songs that I like. There's a song on that first album that it's like the closest thing I had ever heard to like real hard. He got too many songs that I can associate my real life with. Like there's a song about, it's basically he had messed up with this girl, but it's because he was chasing his career, and he's like, I didn't forget about you, but I'm doing this right now, and man, I hope I didn't lose you.
This is Drake or Trey Songz?
This is Drake. This is Drake. It's on Drake's first album. I will have that in 14 seconds. I know
you literally put me up on Drake when we went. We were going up for one of the New Jack shows. I think we were going to SAC first, and you were driving and you played his mixtape. That's the first time I heard Houston, Atlanta, Vegas. Let's call the whole thing off. Let's call the whole thing off. And I was like, oh, that's really crossover. That's dope. Anyway,
it's Bria's Interlude is the song that I'm thinking about.
My first pick was Beyonce and Usher. My Way was the first album I ever asked my mom to buy me. I remember this was right around the time where Make Me Wanna came out, and it was his second album, but his first one to really succeed. And he was doing all these TV appearances. I had my mom buy me the do-rag that he was wearing. I remember I remember he was wearing ski goggles on the top of the album cover.
Did you get the goggles?
I wanted the goggles. We went to the beauty supply store. She was going to get me the goggles. And then I remember looking at the goggles being like, man, this looks stupid. I'm going to elementary school. What do I need some goggles for? So that was crazy. I'm sorry. Tangerine just walked around looking thick as hell. So as I wanted the goggles, didn't get the goggles, I was like, man, I love this guy, man. And mind you, Make Me Wanna was such a dope hit. I could not relate at any point because I'm 9, maybe 10 years old, and I'm over here singing with him talking about you make me want to leave the one I'm with. The only one I'm with right now is School Books. You understand me?
Recess.
Recess. That's the only person I'm with. It was a girl that I had a crush on, and she didn't even know I had a crush. And I'm singing about her, about to leave her for another girl. And I didn't even have that. He definitely impacted me. Plus, this is 90s Nickelodeon. He made an appearance on All That, which was our Saturday Night Live. It was our Mad TV for kids. And it was so fire that I loved Usher from that moment on. He's got a lifetime fan in me. And then we could talk about Confessions. Every one of Usher's songs and albums hits a memory for me in my developmental stage. I remember hearing the Confessions announcement that he had sold 1 million in a day, I believe. It had my uncle, we were going to my uncle's funeral. My dad was driving. It was all of us in a van. And I heard that news and I was like, what? Right. And then I got the album and I just loved the album. I had a girlfriend at the time. That album, bam, makes me think about a lot of
escape.
Yeah, it allowed me to escape. And then let's go back to Can You Help Me on the 8701 album, Usher. You Got It Bad. The Can You Help Me song. I remember my boy was dating this girl and he was in love with her and he drove. He was in the country. He drove me everywhere. He was the only one who had a car and he was with his girl. And this is when you got to be like the lookout while I do with his girl and they can't got no privacy because they both live at home with their parents. So he took me as like I'm gonna be hanging with her. You know what I'm saying? Right. So he and his girl get in the car and he's blasting Can You Help Me? And they doing their thing in the car. And I'm over there just like listening to the music, walking in the woods like, man, I want a girl where I could do this with. You know what I'm saying? Like all these crazy moments. Right. But yeah, they impacted me. Then we go to Beyonce. Beyonce is one of the greatest artists of all time for what she's created, who she is as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, as a singer, as an actor, which people don't like to give her credit for. She's tackled everything. She's always been about the upliftment and movement of her people. She's always been about positive energy. She's always been about family and friendship. Even though she abandoned Michelle when she tripped, is a true professional. And I love Beyonce with all my heart. Beyonce can drop a song and I'm buying it just because Beyonce dropped it at this point. So I remember hearing her breakout solo hit Crazy in Love and seeing the direction of it. And I saw the star in her right there. Yeah. And she's never slowed down. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I could do this, and not singing and dancing, but I'm saying I could take my career in my own hands by watching what she did. She left the comfort of her group and she went solo, and it could have went very badly, but it did not, because she's always had her own plan and moved strongly. Your first choice?
Yeah. Wait. No, we just did my first choice because that was my first choice because you just did Beyonce.
Oh, yep. All right. But now,
I want to make sure I highlight the song. It's Sooner Than Later. That's the song, bro. Okay. Listen to Sooner Than Later. It is as an artist and a creative that has had your share of females in your life, bro. It hit.
Yeah.
Wait, long time ago. Long time ago.
So long.
Sheesh.
Fire.
It's different, bro.
Now we got to speed through this because I'm not going past a certain amount of time. We've been on. We should have just chose three people. Damn it, BT with the fourth.
All right, so we having a good time.
We are having a good time. Hopefully, the people who are watching.
Part 1, part 2.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna drop the whole thing. That's a lot more work. So this is round 3. Defend your opponent's side without using their previous points. I'm going to defend your side in a lightning round right now. Number 1, Jermaine Dupri. you also have to acknowledge that this brother is not one of the attractive people in the world, and he still got Janet Jackson. You said he got Janet, but you didn't highlight the fact that this brother looked like he got hit in the face by a 92 Buick.
About 4'3".
He's also a very short fella. Outside of that, got a lot of gaps in his teeth. Looks like a fly, but Jermaine Dupri has never stopped succeeding because of that. Also, he created Bow Wow. Outside of Chris Cross, he created Bow Wow.
I never mentioned Bow Wow.
Exactly. Bow Wow in his own right could do a versus battle, but we would only want to see him versus like Mario or Omarion or Lil Romeo. Anyway, also Jermaine Dupri decided to make the decision to cut his braids and committed to the bald head look, and I respect that. There's a lot of people. A lot of people be holding on, man. So that was Jermaine Dupri. Jermaine Dupri was versus who?
JD was versus Pharrell.
Okay, Pharrell. Let's talk about NERD. First of all, the Neptunes produced one of the greatest albums that will never be mentioned in anybody's favorite album list except for mine, and that is Noriega, God's Favorite. Noriega, God's Favorite. Literally, you could play it without skipping a song. And the Neptunes produced the entire thing. One of the songs was featured on I Spy with Eddie Murphy and Owen Wilson. And it was so dope that I was like, who made these beats? Like the beats for every track was so fire. Pharrell did that. Pharrell also is 87 years old and he looks 26. And he's always like, and that right there goes to show you how incredible Pharrell is. You took Pharrell versus my Missy Misdemeanor Elliott, but I love him as a producer, as an artist, and as a writer. That was those two. Now I'm gonna give you Biggie and Pac. This is a no order.
Let me knock out two for you real quick.
Go ahead.
So let's knock out. I'm gonna do Jay and Kanye first. The one thing that you did not mention was the fact that these brothers have an amazing album together because they bring the best out of each other, and arguably Watch the Throne could argue to be better they best album in either one of their catalog.
Yeah.
And we know that this works because we saw the tour. Because for Watch the Throne, to this day, because this thing keeps coming up when they talk about the verses, like, oh, the tour is coming. I'm like, yeah, I would love to see these two on tour. Let me tell you something. Watch the Throne is the best tour I've ever been to in my life.
Wow, I wish I could.
It was amazing, bro. It was. I went to Jay-Z and Justin Timberlake. I went to Jay and Beyonce. I went to just Jay. I went to Kanye. I had tours. Jay-Z and Kanye.
Wow.
Because they got to go hit for hit. I saw it live, so I know it works. Yeah, that would be.
So you basically saw the Versus tour before the Versus even created the tour.
Houston, Texas. I'm at the tour. It's at the Summit at the time, or the what's the name? They doing hit for hit. They doing songs from the album. And Kanye will do 2 or 3 hits, and then Jed come out do 2 or 3 hits, and they do more songs from the album. Let me tell you something. They get to this goddamn Niggas in Paris. They play Niggas in Paris. The fucking shit goes crazy. You know what happens after that? They play Niggas in Paris again. Fucking bananas. Oh, you think it's over? No. You know why? Because they're going to do another song. Guess what song that is? Niggas in Paris.
Again.
And you think that it's over at that point in time. Because at this point in time, the light stick came up. They did Niggas in Paris again. These niggas did Niggas in Paris 9 times, bro. And when I tell you niggas was out there singing, and that kid, bipping, every time, it was the most amazing shit. The best concert I've ever been to, and I go to concerts.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you you gave me Jay-Z and Kanye. I gotta give you Biggie and Pac. Biggie, for me, I've always been a bigger guy, especially as a kid. I was the chubby kid. Biggie made me feel like I didn't have to have abs to get the girls and to succeed and to be somebody that people wanted to look up to or strive to be. Tupac was this figure that had an idea that he could change the world, and he could change the world through inspiring the person to change the world. And that was so iconic to me, even as a child, because I'm like, so you mean to tell me I don't have to change the world? I just have to spark the idea in somebody to do it. And that kind of thinking forced me to be like, okay, there's no stopping me then. That's Biggie and Tupac. Your last, so Drake and Chris Brown. Chris Brown did This Christmas, brother. Let me tell you something. When he did This Christmas, he was already set, because you didn't mention This Christmas. He was already set to be this massive star. And I remember feeling so jealous of this guy, because I'm like 2 or 3 years older than him. And I'm like, man, I'm happy for this guy that he's getting a chance to succeed, but I want my own Christmas movie, because Christmas movies get a chance to be played every single year. So you want to be in a big ass Christmas movie. And his story was so dope in that movie, because it was like this centered around him. And I was like, I'm gonna get that. Drake came in under Lil Wayne. He came in, he was already singing and rapping, and Jay-Z had vouched for him. And all of these people were like, he's the next guy. Jamie Foxx was like, yo, we threw a party for him because we knew he was going to be the guy. And I remember being like, yeah, I want to have a party for me, because they think I'm going to be the next comedian. And, you have all these rose-colored ideas and glasses. And Drake has always represented to me this Batman and Superman mentality, because one of my first introductions to him was the songs that he had done with Trey Songz. So I remember he was in a Wonder Woman video from Trey Songz, and this is before anybody even knew who Drake was. They were like, ain't that the guy from Degrassi? Oh, that's dope, he doing a cameo, not knowing that they're friends and making music together. Then fast forward, Drake was now hot, and he's bringing Trey Songz in the video, and they're friends in real life. Then they do Successful, and I was like, that spoke to my soul. Hold on, y'all. Tender ain't walking through again. That spoke to don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. Anyway, so
she sent a message. And you be out and chick walk to the bathroom too many times. You're like, oh, you want me to see this out?
Oh, you want me to see you? She walking with a matching set. Anyway, so they had done a Successful song, and I was like, yeah, like it spoke to my soul. Like music that touches me always speaks to who I want to become. Because she keep walking back to who I want to become and what I'm trying to accomplish. So that's what Drake and Chris Brown did for me. So those are my points. Go ahead for you, brother.
So I hit this Beyonce Usher before we get on out of here. So Usher is an icon, as is Beyonce. I love their awareness as each other. I don't even know somebody else you could put Beyonce next to outside of Usher. They've worked together before. There's probably already a chemistry and a kinship there. And there is women love, if you're a young woman and you look at Beyonce, it's like you look up to them. And we kind of had the same thing for Ush, because I wasn't looking up to Luther and Al Green. They were old. Then they were older. If anything, he an uncle or a pop-hap. But when you're talking about Usher's first song, and I'm talking pre-My Way, when he just in there with grown women hanging with JD. He's just in there just in there, you know what I mean? And then you go to Confessions, and Usher has found a way to be able to, what Beyonce does for women in encapsulating their emotions and or mindsets, I feel like Usher does the same thing.
I love it.
And he does it at a more of a crossover, like that you don't have to call it. If you don't have to call, come on right now, I'm still do this.
I'ma be all right tonight. You don't have to call.
Yeah, so I feel like, and if I'm being honest, can you imagine what the choreography
needs to play it for real? I'm sorry.
Because I love Trey and a lot of other artists, but you're talking about if you put him next to Beyonce and you had to, and this was actually happening performance wise, what are we talking about?
Woo!
You're talking about an actual performance. Let me tell you something. Usher just got a residency
Where?
in Vegas.
When does it start?
July 2021.
Damn, I thought you were about to say next week. I'm like, well, I got to finish. I got to get on the plane.
Let that virus get on up out of here. But I will be there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there a lot.
I don't know if I've ever seen Usher in concert, and
I haven't
wanted to. So you're talking a residency where he get to set up the show and exactly what it's gonna look like and the dynamics and the stage. Yeah,
we going.
We pulling up.
We going. All right, let me tell you something. That's my word. We going. I am not gonna miss Usher.
And by 2021, I'll be rich. So
that's a fact.
Yeah. That sounds like a great trip. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was this episode, Team CT versus Kingsley crew. I want you guys in the comments. We just argued who versus battle should be next. I want you guys in the comments to tell us who won, who you would like to see. Thank you so much for watching. It's always a pleasure. BT Kingsley.
A whole hour.
We did over an hour. So that is